Your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Lawrence Noronha, he says, who do I bench this week?
Oh, I've got the same dilemma, Lawrence. Play Lundstrom, bench Rico, and make sure Tomori's first sub. Next.
Mark Ellison says everywhere.
Oh, yeah, you're playing Rico and Cantwell ahead of Pereira and McTominay. Make that change and then sell Cantwell next week. Next.
Enga Q, help, I've been flunking for weeks.
Oof. Let's have a look here. Jordan Ayew as a striker, I don't like. Sell Sterling for Mane, and yeah, that will help you. Next.
Sudeep Nair says help. Hashtag FPL FYI.
Oh, Cancelo, I'm not so sure about. Too much rotation. Play Lundstrom and find a replacement for Cancelo. Next.
Takunda, he says, please just give me advice.
Oof. Tielemans has got to play ahead of Yarmolenko or El Ghazi, and sell Yarmolenko. I watched him week in, week out. Not anymore. Next.
Malik says time for wild card.
Malik, yes, it is. Haller, Firmino, Mendy. There's problems everywhere. So if you need to use your wild card, hope even in goal.
Yes. You only have yourself to blame because you took too long. You cannot blame us anymore.
I'm trying to be thorough. What can you do? Right, it's time for this week's FPL Conundrum. Boys, are you ready? After John Lundstrom's heroics last weekend, who was the last defender to score 21 points in a game week?
When was this?
So it happened this year in January 2019.
So last season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who was it against?
It was in a home tie against Cardiff. And I've given you too many clues now.
Oh, I think I've got it. No, I haven't. I'm lying.
I think I've got it.
If you think you know the answer, get it in the comments below and we will reveal the answer at the end of the show.
So everyone's been getting a little bit frustrated with the premium players not making their way into the dream team. Again this week, not many players making it in, but this might help you a little bit. Some goals might be imminent. If we have a look at this graph here from Fantasy Football Scout, it's amazing. In the last 4 game weeks, in terms of players who haven't scored more than 1 goal, look at the top 4 here as we go into the biggest game of the season. 55 goal attempts, only 3 goals, but the expected goals, they're right up there at the top. So maybe those goals are coming for Jesus and Salah. Let's concentrate on the game first before we get into the FPL aspect of it. Rambo, how are you feeling going into this one, mate?
Excitement is through the roof. There's a lot of things going on. Like there's a lot of talk from Pep, from Klopp, but also in terms of the teams, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm really anxious about the game, and I always am, because Liverpool-Man City for me is now like the Liverpool-Everton or the Man City-Man U sort of fixture. Yeah. And I just think the two teams are so evenly matched, even though Liverpool are 6 points clear, and I keep hearing this, Liverpool are 6 points clear.
Have you noticed any sort of tension in Liverpool because of the great start and just, you know, the history of the club and wanting that Premier League title? Have you noticed that?
Not really.
No?
I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to say this, but this is the first time it's been different. This is the first time where the Aston Villa game, Liverpool fans knew we were going to win. The Spurs game, we knew we were going to win. Genk, we knew we were going to win. Every game we're going into it and we're like, whatever you do, we're going to definitely beat you. So it's very different to before, because before it was like, uh-oh, they've scored early. Uh-oh, there's a slip coming. That word slip still like haunts me a little bit. But for me, I look at it and I think, I really and truly think this group of players know how to win. We are the mentality monsters. But the worry for me this game is you don't know what Pep's going to do. Right. Often you queue up against Villa and you can predict their starting 11. With
and
Pep,
you know you're better than their starting 11.
Exactly. Whereas with Pep, it rotates every single week. Last week it was Otamendi coming on late, but being dropped. And for FPL managers, that was a nightmare. Then Mahrez with that really good run. I remember we were sat right here going Mahrez. And then Mahrez didn't start. And so it's now like, well, Pep, what are you going to do? And that is the worry about trying to pick Pep's team, because he's literally got 8 teams in his head, and you don't know who's going to play and who's not.
I don't think it's a worry. It's more of a challenge. Be positive about it, you know? Because I'm with you. I'm a neutral, and I'm excited about the game in pretty much the same way that you are. I think I could predict the Liverpool starting lineup, and I can predict how Liverpool are going to play the game. You only have one way to attack, whereas City can adapt in lots of different ways. They may go with 3 slightly more holding midfielders in Bernardo, Gundogan, and what have you. They'll change their formation like they did last year, maybe David Silva playing in a number 10. They'll need to try and counteract your fullback. So it's the challenge and the tactical thing there.
I disagree. Because I think if you look at Liverpool against Villa, they brought in Chamberlain, Firmino dropped in, Mane went up top. Liverpool now are playing with a lot of different variations. I think people look at City and go, they've got lots of options. I agree to something like City do have more options, but I think with Chamberlain now, especially the way he's been playing, he is going to come clutch for Liverpool at some point. Keita as well. Liverpool have an option to rotate now, which they didn't have before. And so I'm a little bit like, you know who's going to start, but do you know what's going to happen? That is the big question. And
well, when it comes to Man City, we've got a graph here of the most owned 11 for Man City. And if you look at it, Otamendi, you don't know who's going to start. Laporte and Zinchenko both injured. David Silva in midfield, injured. Mahrez, you don't know if he's going to start. So what is Guardiola's best team? Because he's going to play his best team in this game, surely. So when it comes to FPL assets, up top, the talking point is always Aguero or Jesus. Aguero's got a really bad record at Anfield, hasn't scored in 10 visits there for Atletico Madrid or Man City. So do you see Jesus starting in this one?
I couldn't predict. Anyone who thinks anyone that thinks they can second guess Pep is crazy. You ask who's City's best starting 11. I'd love to see City's starting 11 play their B team, because that would be just as good a game. It could be anyone. The thing is, I've settled in the end on Ederson and Kevin De Bruyne because I feel they're the two most reliable starters. Having said that, they're not the explosive players like Mahrez or Sterling, but I'm going to stomach that for the reliability of Kevin De Bruyne.
I think the battle this weekend is Liverpool's fullbacks against Manchester City's midfielders. Because Liverpool's fullbacks create all their chances. They've created 55 chances between them, Trent and Robbo, 7 assists this season. City's fullbacks, you've got Walker, Zinchenko, Cancelo, Mendy, Angelino. They've only created 24 chances. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, you know where the chances are going to come from. It's KDB and the rest of the gang in midfield.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, you can see that here as well. 84 chances coming from midfield of Man City. Liverpool, though, 30 chances being created. So when you look at that and then you narrow it down to players, it's De Bruyne versus Trent in terms of the FPL points this week. Trent, 40 chances created. KDB, 40 chances created. Who do you think is going to get stifled in this game? Because one of them probably will. Or will they? Or are there going to be goals?
I think personally, the more I watch Man City, it depends who starts at left back. If Mendy starts at left back, I think Trent's got a great chance of getting at him for the entire game because Mendy doesn't enjoy defending. And also, often, the kryptonite for Trent is Sane, and he's injured. He's the player that Trent doesn't like to come up against. We've seen it so many times. And then for KDB, I don't think he's stoppable. I think you have to put a man on him for the entire game, and Klopp doesn't do that. It's almost like a thing of, I'm not going to man-mark one of your players because I believe in what we can do. And so therefore, I actually think neither are going to get stifled, and it is going to be a case of who's going to create the most chances.
Even if Guardiola plays like he has in the last couple of games where they've given up possession, what do you think?
I think Rambo's hit the nail right on the head there. Both of these players are that good. There you go, that you can't. The interesting thing is with the fullbacks for City, they get rotated a lot more than Robertson and Trent do. If they played consistently with Mendy on one side and Walker on the other, they have the ability to create as many chances, well, maybe not as many, but quite a lot of chances like the Liverpool duo do. Mendy's just never played consistently, but he does bomb forward. And Kyle Walker, we saw last week with a goal and assist, can do it. I think City should consider trying to play with the same style and push their fullbacks forward to try and counter-attack it with Mendy and Walker, potentially. I mean, it's a very tactical...
It depends on those two centre-backs that you're going to play as well. And you're going to leave them exposed.
I actually think
maybe go
City
three
will
at the
play
back.
back three.
Yeah,
I think
three at the
City
back
will play
for City.
three at the back. Fullbacks really wide, and so there'll be less space for Liverpool's fullbacks to get forward, because that is where Liverpool's creativity comes from. And I think Pep will try and force Liverpool to play inside, but then that might mean Kevin De Bruyne will come stuck because all the games will be in the middle of the pitch. I think it's just a fascinating battle. I have no idea who's going to come out on top, to be honest. I think in terms of FPL assets, the real battle for you, James, is this loyalty thing that you've had with Salah since the start of the season. And a lot of people are now going, is it Salah or is it Mane? Who are you going to go for? Salah obviously costs more. These trust issues me and you both have. Where are you going now?
Well, in one of those early game weeks, I took the captaincy off Salah and I got it wrong. And I said on this show, I will never betray you again. But I'm looking at Mane and I don't know, Salah's just been such a great partner for me. We've had some great times, but Mane's looking pretty hot there. I'm thinking of making that swap. I needed some help on this, so we asked you on the community tab. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way you can keep up to date with that and have your say as well.